Hello, Edumagicians. Welcome to the Edumagic podcast with your host, Dr. Sam Fessich. Dr. Sam is a professor of education, author of Edumagic, and a pumpkin spice latte fan. This podcast is designed for pre-service teachers. Remember, friends, teaching doesn't begin at graduation, but during that first class at 8 a.m. Let's get this party started.
I'm Matthew Woods, host of Leading Out of the Woods, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you are listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hey, Edumagicians, it's Sam. Welcome back to another episode of the Edumagic podcast. Today, I have with me an amazing future educator, leader, advocate, and learner. During this episode, Kieran drops gems related to teaching, raising up the next generation of diverse educators, and Educators Rising. We talk about how you can make the most out of your experience during Educators Rising National Virtual Conference. Hurry up, click that play button. Let's listen in. Welcome back to another episode of the Edumagic podcast. My name is Dr. Sam Fessich, and I am pumped to have a future teacher on the show today. Today I have Kieran VanVorhis. He's from Ohio, and he is involved with Educators Rising. And if you don't know, Educators Rising has an amazing conference coming up. We're going to be talking about all things Ed Rising, how to get involved, and why he got involved, and all those wonderful things. But before we jump in, Kieran, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am pumped to have you here. So, Kieran, before we get into all things Ed Rising, which is a huge passion area, can you please share a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your teaching story?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hello, everyone. Like mentioned, my name is Kieran VanVorhis, and my pronouns are he, they. And I'm currently the Educators Rising National Vice President of Engagement and Programs. I'm a second year at Capital University in Bexley, Ohio, which is a little outside of Columbus, Ohio. And I major in early childhood education and intervention specialist. I am from Gahanna, Ohio, originally, which is also a little outside of Columbus. And I'm also a graduate from Gahanna Lincoln High School and the Eastland Fairfield Career Center. But most importantly, my zodiac sign is Aquarius. But in regards to my teaching story, growing up, I have always found school to be a challenge. I struggled with bullying, had a hard time learning, and when I tried to communicate, I experienced delayed speech. So as you can imagine, I never really fit in, and I never thought of school as an enjoyable experience. However, it was my teachers who helped me realize that these are all challenges that I can overcome. And it was my teachers who helped me realize that school is a great place. They inspired me, and they continue to inspire me to become an educator. And I hope to one day inspire my students in the same way that they inspire me.
Oh, Kieran, I love it. And do you want to shout out any specific teachers?
Yeah, absolutely. My fourth grade teacher, Mrs. George at Jefferson Elementary in Gahanna, Ohio, was super impactful on me. And I had the opportunity to student teach with her a little bit, which was definitely a full circle moment. And it was super cool.
That is awesome. Anybody else?
Mrs. Mountain, my second grade teacher at Jefferson Elementary, really helped me overcome the bullying and realizing that my differences are a good thing and they make me unique, and it's not something that I should be ashamed of or try to change.
Absolutely. I love this, Kieran. And you had mentioned that your major is early childhood and intervention specialist. Can you share a little bit more about that intervention specialist? That intrigued me.
Yeah, absolutely. So my university offers sort of like a double major program where you can do both early childhood, or really you can do middle childhood or anything like that. But I definitely want to teach the younger grades, so I went with early childhood. But I figured it would be best because I'm going to have students in my classroom who do work with the intervention specialist. So I want to be able to understand sort of what they need to be successful. And growing up in school, I had to work with an intervention specialist a lot with my learning disabilities and my delayed speech. So I definitely understand how that can be challenging for students. So I feel if I were to be an intervention specialist as opposed to an early childhood educator, I would really love that because I'm someone who grew up needing one. So I feel like I can kind of relate to students and sort of have a good base knowledge of what works and sort of how to approach different things.
That's super cool. Really being an advocate for your students and getting them the services that they need to be successful in your classroom.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. All right, Kieran, are you ready to jump into all things Ed Rising?
Of course.
All right. Now, why did you choose Ed Rising? Is this something that you were involved in throughout high school and kind of moved into the college space, or is this something you started as a freshman? Tell us all the things. How did you get involved, and why did you choose Educators Rising?
At my high school, there's sort of a collaboration between the Eastland Fairfield Career Center. And so they offered a teaching professions program. And through the program, we were able to get involved with Ed Rising. And that teaching professions program is a junior and senior sort of program. So I started there and I participated in the various competitions that we have and got to explore all of the resources that are available. And then when I went to college, they continue to offer resources to collegiate students. So I was able to get involved through there. And I plan to continue to be a part of it through college and even into the professional realm with being a part of PDK or Phi Delta Kappa.
Very cool. So it reminds me of your full circle moment that you had in fourth grade with your student teaching experience, starting it as a junior and senior, moving into it as a college student, as a future educator, and then even keeping up with Educators Rising through PDK as a new educator. That's super cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really cool. All right. So for those of us who might be listening, who are like, what is this Educators Rising? Maybe I've seen it online. Maybe I saw something on Instagram. But could you tell us a little bit about what it is? You mentioned competitions. What does all of this mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ed Rising has been an amazing help when it comes to navigating the education profession. I've been able to learn so much about what it means to be an educator, especially since that isn't really something you get to tap into until you're in college. So it was nice to sort of explore that while I was a junior and senior. So that way I can figure out if education is something I want to go into before I start investing money in it and time when I'm in college. And so the organization is both at a state level and a national level. So I did a lot of work with Educators Rising Ohio, which is the state chapter. And through there, we have a state conference, which is like a smaller version of the national conference. And there we get to compete in education-related competitions. I had the opportunity to compete in the Inside Our Schools competition, which is entails you going into a school and filming a video about a new teaching strategy. And we went back to my old elementary school, Jefferson Elementary, and we explored some of their social and emotional learning ideas. They had like vinyl stickers on the tile throughout the hallway, and it was sort of like different activities students could do as a brain break as they transitioned between classes. And so we explored all of the different tactics like that. And we ended up placing first in the state, which was really cool. And then, but beyond competitions, there's also breakout sessions that you can attend during the conference. And students are also able to present breakout sessions on different things that they're passionate about when it comes to education. And we also have motivational speakers. We've had Ohio Teachers of the Year come speak to us. And we've also had some National Teachers of the Year finalists come speak to us, which has been really cool. And they also, at the national level and even the state level, there's tons of resources that are available, like Twitter chats and live streams, and also professional development resources like different packets you can read. And there's also the Cap-In magazine subscription, which provides great insight into what's current and new in the education realm. And so it's just been a great way to sort of figure out what education is, what it entails. And it's also been the perfect opportunity to sort of learn and grow as a future educator before I even enter the professional area.
Yeah, 100%. That sounds amazing. So many different ways to grow as a professional, from Twitter chats, live streams, the magazine that you had mentioned, the professional development breakout sessions, the competitions. But I'm sure it's also a great way to network as well and connect with other future teachers.
Definitely. When with Educators Rising Ohio, I served as the president of the state organization. And that was sort of the stepping stone to getting into the national vice president position. And so through there, I was able to build connections with the Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Educators Association. And that's been super cool because I have had the opportunity to serve on the Ohio Teacher of the Year selection committee.
What? That's awesome.
Right. And I'm also part of the Ohio Department of Education's Diversity Task Force that works to ensure we are diversifying Ohio's teacher pipeline and promoting representation in the classroom. So definitely building those connections before I even graduate college is super important, because when I'm looking for jobs, I'm going to have a lot of people that I can reach out to and get
For
insight.
sure, Kieran, I got goosebumps whenever you're telling me all the stuff that you get to do as a leader in Educators Rising. So I have a question for you. Whenever say we have someone listening to this show and they're involved in Educators Rising or thinking about taking on a leadership role, what advice do you have for that person who's listening in, who's involved in Ed Rising at their state or at their local chapter, and like, maybe I do want to take on some leadership? What are your suggestions for them?
Yeah, absolutely. It can definitely be a little scary, especially when you're first getting into it, because you might not know what it entails, or if it's something you're going to be good at. But ultimately, I encourage everyone who's even remotely interested to give it a try. And definitely, we have tons of positions that are available both at the state level and the national level. We have the national cabinet, which includes the president, vice president of social media, and then the position that I am, the vice president of engagement and programs. But if that's not something you're interested in, we also have national ambassadors who are really instrumental on social media and spreading the word about Educators Rising. And even at the state level, there's state ambassadors and the state cabinet. So if there's something that you might not 100% be interested in, there's definitely multiple options to get into the leadership that can sort of be tailored to what you're interested in or what your skills are. So I definitely feel like no matter who you are, it's definitely something you can be successful with. But ultimately, I think just the opportunities that I've been able to have, I think it's great for everyone to be able to experience those things, especially when we need more passionate educators. There are already so many, but we definitely want to get the future generations involved in education so that we can further make a brighter future ultimately.
Absolutely. I say teaching is the best profession on the planet. It truly, truly is. So you also shared that you're part of the diversity task force, engaging students so we can have a more diverse teacher workforce, because I know that our students need to be able to see themselves, in teachers and be able to connect with their educators. What are some strategies that Ohio is doing to help diversify the teacher workforce?
With the Diversity Task Force, it's something that I believe was founded a year ago, and I recently got involved with it this year. And something great with me being involved is they are getting student perspective, which I think is super important, because I know a lot of students, especially students who come from diverse backgrounds, have a lot of thoughts and ideas about what we can do to make education a profession that appeals to individuals who do come from those diverse backgrounds. Because I definitely think school can be a challenging place, especially if you don't fit the quote unquote norm. And so it might seem something that you can't go into if you don't fit that societal norm of what a teacher is, especially since a lot of our teacher workforce is predominantly white and cisgendered and things like that. So I definitely think providing that student input is definitely very important and has shown to really help Ohio. But something that they're doing that I have gotten to be a part of a little bit is in Cleveland, there is an organization, and their acronym is CAMERA, but it stands for Cleveland Area Minority Educators Recruitment Association. And so something that they do in Cleveland is they go to schools and they reach out to students and college students who may be interested in education, and they provide mentoring and sort of help students who may not have had the access to things like Ed Rising to explore education. It allows them to sort of get involved, which I think is really important. And it's especially important because it's the grow your own idea, where we're reaching out to the students and the individuals in our community who are diverse and who we think who can make great teachers, but we just haven't reached them yet. And so I think that's definitely really important and something that's been working in Ohio, but I think could also be taken to the national level, definitely.
Kieran, this is so much fun. I'm definitely going to have to add that into the show notes. I love these ideas and these strategies of grow your own, supporting students where they are, giving them a voice when it comes to raising up that next generation of educators of excellence. This is awesome.
It is super cool.
It's so exciting. All right, another super exciting thing with Ed Rising is, of course, the conference, which, friends, we got to talk about because this is an amazing event. It's going to be virtual this year, and I've had colleagues go to the one that was in person. I believe it was 2 years ago, and they said, "Sam, you have got to go to this conference. It is teachers, future teachers on fire to reach and teach the next generation. It is unlike any conference I've ever been to. The excitement, the energy, the positivity, the growth, and the networking is incredible." So, Kieran, let's talk about that conference. So, where can we find first more about how to register for the conference? And if this is our first time, like me, I'm a first time attendee to Ed Rising virtual. What can we expect? What are some things we can find? Just tell me all the things, Kieran.
So 2 years ago, like you said, the conference is always in person, of course, but with COVID-19, it is kind of threw a wrench in our plans, which is completely okay because educators are all about adapting. But when I had the opportunity to attend the last in-person conference, which was in Dallas, Texas, and for the in-person conference, I definitely recommend everyone be there if you can. It's super cool to get to connect with so many future educators because we do have quite a few organization members. So it was just such a cool experience to be with like-minded people, and especially connecting with students through the competitions. And all of our judges are education professionals or have some sort of voice or impact in education. And it's super cool to connect with them and sort of further network. And it's also great because, like you said, the positivity is amazing. We've had some amazing public speakers. When I was there, it was Rodney Robinson, a National Teacher of the Year, and Jose Vilson, another amazing educator. And they provided such great insight and stayed for a Q&A portion, which was absolutely amazing. But for the virtual conference, we have a lot of things planned. We have a completely interactive online environment, and we have different sort of like tokens of Ed Rising. We still have our Eddie Bear, which is kind of like our mascot. So he'll be making an appearance virtually. And we have virtual activities planned. We're going to do everyone's favorite online games like Kahoot and stuff. And we're still going to have our public speakers. We just have to listen to them virtually, unfortunately. But we have some amazing speakers planned. So I know it's going to be just as impactful as if it was in person. And of course, too, the competitions are going virtual, but we've managed to create an environment where students are able to wait in a lobby and then be connected with their judges. So even though it's not the ideal circumstances, we definitely have an amazing conference plan that I think everyone will enjoy. And the perk about it being online is that we can further reach more people because since it is a national conference, it can be very difficult for our members to be able to make it to the conference. So having it online means that it is accessible to everyone, which is definitely really great.
So this isn't your grandma's Zoom meeting, right?
Right. Definitely not. It is not like any online lecture I have ever attended. It's definitely going to be a really cool experience.
I am really excited about it. I'm a first-time attendee and a first-time presenter at Ed Rising, and everything from, preparing the presentation to getting support from the team has been amazing. Can we still register for it, Kieran?
I believe so. I'm not 100%. I will have to check back on that and I can let you know.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So, Kieran, so we talked about what the conference is, what to expect. What do you suggest attendees do to make the most out of their conference experience? So I know you said some of them are going to be pre-recorded, which is okay. We can sit and listen. What are some other things that we can do beforehand or during the conference to really set ourselves up for getting the most out of this experience?
Yeah. So we definitely have a lot to offer with this virtual conference, and it can definitely be overwhelming if it is your first time experiencing an Ed Rising conference or even a virtual conference. But what's great about the online environment that we're setting up is there is a save for later feature. So if there's any videos that you couldn't quite make it to, or any documents, any breakout sessions, you can actually save those files in what we're calling your backpack. and you're able to download those to your computer and access them later. And the great thing is the online environment is going to be open for a few days after the conference. So even if you aren't able to save everything because you're just so excited and involved, you can come back anytime and do that. I believe it's open for 3 days after the conference, so there's a lot of time, and you're of course welcome to go back and re-look at anything or explore some new things that you may have missed.
That is really good to know, especially whenever you're planning the sessions that you want to attend, because I don't know about you, Kieran, but whenever I look at a session list and there's like 5 of them there that I want to go to, but they're
Right.
all at the same time, it's like, oh,
Yes,
yes,
that's it.
the pain
Yes,
is real.
definitely.
Kieran, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I got to get you back on the podcast to talk about student teaching and other things. But when we're talking about Ed Rising, can you share where can we find out more about Ed Rising National? And if we have some listeners from Ohio, because I know you're there, I see you on my listener map, can you share a little bit about where they can connect with Educators Rising Ohio or other statewide chapters?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a really great national website. It is educatorsrising.com. And we recently revamped it a little bit. It was great before, but now it's even better. And from there, it's easy to access all of the information, and you can set up an account actually. And then you get sort of like a member portal that makes it even easier to access the resources. And there's even PDK or Phi Delta Kappa information available there. So that is a great resource to find out more about Educators Rising at the national level. And of course, if you have any other questions, you're welcome to reach out to me or any of the officers or ambassadors or anyone at the national staff, really, and they would be happy to help you. But for Educators Rising Ohio, we have a website as well that's specific to Ohio, and you can go there and you can meet our cabinet with all of the leaders in Ed Rising Ohio, and you can have access to when our state conferences and the breakout sessions that are going to be offered and how you can be involved and provide support and all of that great stuff. So definitely the internet is your best friend when it comes to doing research about Ed Rising. But just like how there's people to help you at the national level, there are so many great people at the Ohio level and all of the other state levels that you can reach out to and get help with anything you could possibly need.
Perfect. And Kieran, how can we connect with you?
Absolutely. So my Twitter is at Kieran VanVorhis, and you can also reach out to me through my email, which is kieranvanvorhis@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This has been a blast. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And there you have it, Edumagicians. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. For more Edumagic, check out sfessage.com and follow Dr. Sam on Twitter and Instagram at sfessage. Until next time, you have the Edumagic within you.